everybody, and welcome to Simply Sterile. This is Carol Malone, and today we're going to talk about instrument inspection. The first item we're going to look at is a simple hemostat. This is a curved hemostat, and the inspection points are the lock box. We're looking for pits, cracks, rust, and stains. The next item we want to check is the jaws and the serrations, looking for bioburden and anything else that shouldn't be there. The third thing we want to do is a simple test to make sure that the ratchet is actually holding. So in order to do that, we take the instrument, we lock it onto the first latch, we take it and we give it a good solid whack on the countertop. This one happens to pop open, which tells me that this instrument is not fit for use. And I'm going to take that and put it out in my repair bin. The next set of instruments that we want to look at are our needle holders. So what we're looking at is same principle. We're looking at the lock box, we're looking at the jaws, we're looking at the pads, we're looking at all this for pits, cracks, rust, and stains. This instrument happens to have gold handles where this instrument does not. So the difference is that the gold handled needle holder has inserts that made out of tungsten carbide. What that means is that these pads can be removed and replaced when they're worn or broken, whereas the instrument without the gold handles cannot have these pads removed and replaced. This particular one happens to have a crack in it, which I will insert a photo so that you can get a close-up look. And you can also do the ratchet test that we did with the hemostat. Same thing, put it on the first ratchet and give it a whack. This does not pop open, however, this instrument has a crack and some other cracks on here. So that's going to deem it not usable. Another item I wanted to point out, which I'll put another inserted picture, is that this is a good example of bioburden. There's black on these pads. So I'll put a picture of that so you can see what bioburden on these instruments looks like. Moving on to our next instruments, we have what are called by several different names: pickups, Adsons, DeBakey's, and so on. So inspection points on these, we're looking for cracks. They tend to crack down here at the base. They start to crack and pull apart. We're also looking for function. We want to be able to make sure that when we squeeze them together, they're not coming together like this. They should be separated when they're squeezed together. We're looking at the serrations. We're looking for black bioburden or just regular bioburden in there. We're looking for, again, pits, cracks, rust, and stains. To check for function, we want to check and make sure that the teeth come together smoothly. This particular one, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's making a clicking noise and it's sticking. That to me says that the teeth are not coming together correctly. And it's also got a little bit of a crack and a stain right there. Another item I wanted to point out is something called Pakistan. Pakistan, you can tell, is, first of all, it's shinier. Second of all, it's not as beefy, so it's cheaper. It's really only meant for one-time use. So we do not reprocess Pakistan. And the other third difference is that the word Pakistan is usually stamped into the metal, whereas our regular German-made instruments is not stamped. So please do not reprocess Pakistan instruments. By reprocessing different types of metals, you do run the risk of ruining your German-grade steel. So keep that in mind. Our next items are scissors. So again, I want to kind of touch on scissor testing. So there's really not a whole lot of different ways to test your scissors. The first thing you're going to do, again, is do your general inspection. You're looking for pits, cracks, rust, and stains. I need to make a song about that one. So I'm looking at the lockbox. I'm looking for those things. Not seeing really too many on here. However, I am seeing that this one is missing the entire tip. So that is a no-go. I do want to point out that this one does have gold handles, which means that part of this scissor blade is made out of tungsten carbide, which makes it a harder cutting surface. So if any of your docs are asking for the specific gold-handled met scissors, that's why they want that specific cutting surface for whatever it is they're doing. So obviously, missing a tip is going to go in my repair bin. Now, the way that we test our scissors is, first of all, The scissor testing material comes in 2 different colors. So let's talk about that for a minute. The reason it's 2 different colors is because the yellow is for scissors that are under 4.5 inches long, and the red is for scissors that are over 4.5 inches long. So I have a simple ruler. What we want to do to measure our scissors is we measure from tip to tip. So if we put that up against our ruler, these measure actually 4 3/4 inches. So I would use the red testing material. Now, in order for me to do that, everybody wants to do this and just jam it on your testing material. That's not quite the way it's done. You want to do it with your second finger, light grip, take your material, and they're really pretty much cutting just from the tip to the edge there. I just kind of snag it and pull. This one snags, and I know it snags because everything I have is broken. So this one is going to be rejected because this one is catching the rubber. Now please do keep in mind that these materials are made out of latex. So if you do have a latex allergy, you'll want to get in the orange and peach versions of this testing material. And the other item I have here, a pair of scissors, is just another example of Pakistan. It's got Pakistan stamped right on it. They're not very sturdy, they're very shiny, they're kind of cheap, they're kind of stained because they should not have been reprocessed. These should have gone in the trash after they were used. And because a department puts tape on them does not magically transform them into something else. They are Pakistan, they are not to be reprocessed. So moving on, we have some other items. So some of you may be familiar with this testing booklet. I'm not here promoting a particular brand of testing booklet. I'm just promoting that you do the testing on these instruments. It's very important to the health and safety of our patients. So this particular book has a plastic dowel rod on the side. This is not a glue stick, as some of people have thought it was. This is actually a plastic testing rod. So when we're going to test our osteotomes, for example, it's supposed to stick in here at a 90-degree angle. And this one I know for a fact is not safe because it's kind of messed up in a whole lot of ways. So we're checking for pits, stains, rusts, cracks. We're checking for the sharpness and the sharpness across the top. This particular one has a giant stain on it. And I can also see where the staff has tried to scrub the giant stain, so they have further damaged this instrument. So there are several reasons why this instrument has been pulled from use. We cannot use them when they're stained because that is the start of the degradation of your instrument. This particular osteotome, same kind of thing, could stand for some sharpening at the top, but it has a giant gouge out of the side. So that means that this instrument's been compromised, and there's also a bunch of pits and things on the back of this as well. So that right there tells me that this instrument is not fit for use. You use the same dowel rod to test your curettes. Again, they're supposed to stick into it, and I can tell you that these do not. And also, upon inspection, I can see that this one is cracked all the way around. So that is really not good if they're scooping and this whole thing breaks. The bioburden that's in there and the fact of the harm that would come to the patient from using this instrument is pretty great. So when in doubt, put it in the repair bin. So the next item I wanted to talk about is a single action rongeur. Now these are, fairly simple instruments. Again, you're checking the lockbox, you're looking for pits, cracks, rust, and stains. This particular one has several cracks. There's a giant crack along the side. There's a crack along the screw. That's a lot of times where you will see cracks on instruments. I'm going to test for function. One of the things that we're looking for too is for rust around these screws. So when I'm testing for function, I'm squeezing the instrument. It really should never come this close together. It really should be about 2 inches. So if I'm measuring 2 inches where it really should be, is when I squeeze it as hard as I should squeeze it, you'll notice that the tips don't even come together. So if I'm the doctor and I'm squeezing this hard to get this instrument to work, there's a problem. And it doesn't feel right. It feels very loose, probably because of this giant crack right here. If this instrument was actually functioning properly, it should be able to cut this card and take a little bite out. So I would just take it like so, take a little bite, and it should snap a little bite out. This one doesn't even make an indent in my card. So this one's going to the repair bin. The next item we have is a double action roundier. So you can see the difference between a single action and the joint of the double action. My first thing is I'm looking for pits, cracks, rust, stains. I do see some pits along the line here. Now I'm going to check for function. I'm looking for that rust again along the screws. Now when I squeeze this one, again, this one comes way too close together. It really should be about 2 inches. So when it's actually around 2 inches, again, the teeth don't even come together. This one's beat up pretty good. I see a lot of damage in through here. The last item I wanted to talk about was the Wheatlander. It's also like your Gelpies with this special type of ratchet. You just kind of want to move it over, secure it, give it a pull. Again, you do the same inspection, pits, cracks, rust, and stains. I do see this one is engraved. Unfortunately, that makes our instruments unusable. We should never be using engraved instrumentation because that is invited bioburden in and makes these instruments unsafe for our patients. Well, that wraps up my presentation for today. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.